What's up, Star Wars fans? Alright, Andor has finally just started to get good, so I'm getting really hyped to do these prediction live streams with you guys. So I'm getting really excited for this. Alright, so let's talk about what happened last week with the Andor show. Okay, just briefly, we're going to talk about predictions for episode 5 of the Andor show, but maybe in a little bit. We have to talk about what happened at the end of the last episode, where we left off with episode 4, because it was, quite frankly, insane. So episode 4 was by far my favorite episode of the series. We got to see Coruscant for the first time in a long time, which was epic. We got to see Luthen go to Coruscant, put on a wig, and become a completely different person. But we saw his gallery, which had an insane amount of Easter eggs, and they were absolutely wild. I mean, Starkiller's helmet. We'll get into that. But where did we leave off at the very end of the episode? So with Cassian, he is now Clem, and he's with this group of rebels on Aldhani. Yeah, Aldhani, and they're going to raid this Imperial base, probably in the next episode. But we'll talk about that when we get to the predictions. But that's where he's at. He's learning the ropes. These people have been here for 5 months already, and he's joining just a few days before the raid happens. On Coruscant, we got Mon Mothma, who's preparing for this party with Sly Moore, one of Palpatine's right-hand people. We'll get into that too. And then we got Luthen, who's at his gallery, talking to Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma's bringing in the money for this rebellion. And you got the Empire. The Empire with Lieutenant Marrow, and she's probably going to be our eyes and ears for the Empire throughout the show. So that's where we're kind of at. We got pretty much 4 different storylines going on at the same time, following Cassian, following Mon, following Luthen, and following this Lieutenant Marrow character. Now, right now, Lieutenant Marrow is just working for security at this Imperial base on Coruscant, but she's just overseeing the security of this branch of the galaxy. Who knows? But she's not that high up yet, so I doubt we'll see anybody high up like Grand Moff Tarkin or even Palpatine or Vader, but I'm really hoping that we do get to see them, even if it's just for like a brief second. Like, Palpatine's always on Coruscant, so the fact that we're spending a lot of time on Coruscant, I really hope leads us to see Palpatine. I mean, it would be awesome, but don't get your hopes too high. Now, let's talk about Luthen's gallery, because this was insane. There's a whole article. I'm going to go to Star Wars Direct here, and we got this. Boom. Hidden Ahsoka and Mandalorian Easter eggs spotted in the new Andor episode. So it's a lot more than just Ahsoka and Mandalorian Easter eggs, but we're going to get into it. So in Luthen's, so obviously, spoiler warning for episode 4. Whoops. So obviously, Luthen's gallery had an insane amount of artifacts from all over the galaxy, but the Easter eggs were unbelievable. So we'll start with this. Whatever's first. Mandalorian. Okay. So this armor here is clearly Mando's chestplate. It's obviously not Din Djarin's chestplate, because we see that get forged in The Mandalorian, and this takes place years before that. But it's definitely Mandalorian armor. So how did Luthen get this? There was obviously a great Mandalorian war between the Mandalorians and the Jedi a long time ago, but doesn't seem to have much. Yeah, it's probably not connected, but there is Beskar steel right here in Luthen's gallery, which is pretty cool. Let's keep going. Boom. This one was crazy. I made a whole video on this. It's Starkiller's helmet. If you guys don't know who Starkiller is, he is the apprentice to Darth Vader in Legends. It's not canon stuff. It's Legends. In 2 video games called The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. So he is the most powerful character pretty much ever, like that I know of. Do you guys know of any other more powerful characters than Starkiller? Because let's be honest, he is just unbelievably powerful. There's one clip from the game itself from when he just like gives out this huge burst of energy and literally like incinerates these stormtroopers around him. He actually, in the second one, in a DLC off of it, when he's wearing this helmet, he kills Obi-Wan, obviously Legends. He kills Obi-Wan. He kills Vader. He kills Palpatine. He kills everybody because he's just that powerful. And you play as him in The Force Unleashed. If you guys haven't played The Force Unleashed, it's an older game, but it holds up. Starkiller, his real name is Galen Marek, but non-canon game, of course, or as we like to call it, Legends. So this is the exact helmet, which is cool, but doesn't really make him canon. This was in the back room. When they left and went to the back room, you have holocrons, Sith and Jedi holocrons. So this one on the right here is a Sith holocron, and this one on the left is a Jedi holocron. If you watched Star Wars Rebels, if you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, I would say go watch Star Wars Rebels because it's unbelievable. But you see Darth Maul and Ezra open holocrons, and it leads Maul to Obi-Wan, and that's where I'll leave it. If you've seen it, you know what happens. If you haven't, I won't spoil it for you. But there's a lot more to do with holocrons in Star Wars Rebels. We don't really see much holocrons in live action, which is kind of sad, but in the Clone Wars you see them too. So holocrons in the background, again, epic. A little weird for Luthen to have something of this amount of importance. Like usually the Jedi Temple would have these. Obviously the Jedi are gone now, but Palpatine has taken the Jedi Temple and has his own like headquarters kind of at this time. So you'd think he would want to keep all those around, but it doesn't seem like. This one was actually really cool and pointed out to me by a fan because I didn't see this. I didn't see this at all. But there was a bunch of things stacked in carbonite. And this one in the front looks like a whip. And it could be, as it says here, Indiana Jones's whip. Now, I mean, talk about an Easter egg. Indiana Jones obviously doesn't exist in Star Wars. It takes place on Earth. And Harrison Ford, of course, does play Indiana Jones and Han Solo. So it's kind of just a nod to that. But it's pretty genius. Let's be real, because this show Andor was supposed to be a non-Star Wars show. It wasn't Star Warsy enough. We're never gonna get enough Star Wars stuff in this show. Well, here you are with these crazy Easter eggs like Indiana Jones's whip. Now, obviously, that's not Star Wars, but it is in carbonite, and it's in the background of Luthen's gallery. Now, this one is the World Between Worlds type looking thing. It's just a stone here, and it's got the circles on it that are very similar to the World Between Worlds. Again, if you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, go watch it. But this is the World Between Worlds is only in Rebels. It's the only time you ever see the World Between Worlds, and it's probably going to be the only time you ever see the World Between Worlds, unless we see it in Ahsoka. Because, hang on, let me the Ahsoka show. Ahsoka. Her show, even just like the poster for it, Ahsoka show, is very World Between Worlds-esque. If you look at this on the side here, yeah. So you never know if we'll see the World Between Worlds in the Ahsoka show, but it's possible. So the World Between Worlds is pretty much. I don't want to spoil the entire show for you, but I'm going to. So if you don't want to hear the Rebel spoilers, just click away for a couple seconds. So Ahsoka Tano dies to Darth Vader on Malachor 5, and she dies. Then seasons later, literally I think 2 seasons later, Ezra Bridger enters the World Between Worlds on Lothal. Is it on Lothal? Yeah, it's on Lothal. And he pretty much just goes back in time in this World Between Worlds and saves Ahsoka. Brings her back to life just a couple years later. So she dies, but she's technically just like time jumping, whatever. It's a lot to wrap your head around, but Ahsoka Tano technically does die. But then, does she? Because you don't see her die, and Ezra... Does Ahsoka Tano die? See, I've always thought about it as Ahsoka dies.